Hi, virtual doll community. Hey, VDC. Mark Tinkey here, coming to you from my studio again. And it looks like I'm giving a school presentation at the science fair on paper dresses. And I kind of am. So it is what it is. Thank you to Rachel again for having me on the channel. And thank you to Dee in Brazil for creating the patterns that are on the dresses, the prints. I created the pattern for the paper dress, and then Dee created just a variety of different prints for it, and they're super fun. Yeah, so I thought it'd be fun to just talk a little bit about the paper dress itself. That was a real fad in the 60s. It lasted about 2 years, from 66 to 68. And it started off, from what I read, one of the first companies that did it. It was a promotional thing where you would send away, you'd send them money in the mail, or you'd collect your proof of purchases and send them away, and you would get a paper dress. And one of the first ones was from the Scott Paper Company. Kleenex toilet paper, Scott Paper Company. And they were solid color A-line dresses. And as the fad went on and continued, that's when we got into, they did some different shapes. They got into wild prints, and they just kept getting more and more bold and colorful. And so you really see some really interesting things. If you go and search on Pinterest or Google and read about them, it's really fascinating. The first ones were really very much like paper and would tear very easily. And as they became more and more popular and people kept wanting them, they would combine cellulose fibers with nylon to make them a little stronger so that you could wear them maybe 2 or 3 times before you had to throw them away. But you couldn't wash them. And that was the whole point, is that it was disposable. It was disposable fashion. And it's this interesting snapshot of the 60s and them embracing new technologies for fashion and fabrication of things, and just the 60s being, all of these new technologies exploding, and a lot of really serious things happening in that decade. But then you have things that are really frivolous and fun and joyful. And I think it's an interesting juxtaposition of, wow, there was some really heavy things happening, but people still wanted to express themselves and still wanted to have fun and still wanted to be joyful. I think that's a really cool thing. I think there's a lesson in there. Yeah, so there were promotional items. Breck shampoo had, their own. I would imagine a lot of companies had jumped on the bandwagon. Hallmark did a ton of them. You could also buy, in some instances, you could buy paper plates, tablecloths, wrapping paper, tissues, all with the same print to match your dress. Which, I don't know, it sounds horrible and amazing all at the same time, because now you think, why would I want my dress to match my tablecloth? But why wouldn't you want your dress to match your tablecloth? It's so absurd and silly when you talk about it, but I mean, that's fun. I just think it's just so fun, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. Obviously, if you're having a party and you're like, oh my gosh, look, my paper plates match my outfit. So I just sort of love that. I'll do a pan of these pictures so you can see them close up, but it's fabulous. They did all these different prints. They started doing different shapes. Some of them were made out of newspaper. I read something about miniskirts being made out of newspaper. So it's just a really interesting snippet of 60s fashion that I don't think gets talked about a lot. Andy Warhol started to incorporate them in his work. So there's the Campbell's soup can paper dress. It's such an interesting thing where it goes from this weird little novelty that you can, send away from a paper company to, artists of the day are incorporating it and embracing it. I think it's so interesting. So these two, I have Gwen and Z in 2 of the designs that did. One is the very, very much inspired by the Mondrian dress from Yves Saint Laurent. And the other's just this super cute little flower power daisy print that I thought was so sweet. I have Z here in a little blonde bob that I think she is really slaying. She's given a little twiggy. And shoes from VDC, yellow and orange. They came in another color too. I can't remember what the other colors they came in. But anyway, and I think this is from the Land and Sea collection, the little bag. I took the shoulder strap off of it, but I thought the red was cute, just pops of color. And then this was a little like tweed or boucle bag that was also from VDC that I don't know that it's particularly 60s, but I thought it looked I just thought it looked cute with her outfit. And Gwen is wearing Z's wig, the beach blanket basic Z. She has her wig on and her shoes. So just a little mix and match there. But have fun when you're making these. I also saw in some of the packaging, they would sometimes include 2 yards of yarn trim. So whether that was fringe, I'm assuming it was fringe, and that you would glue, I'm assuming, onto your paper dress. Sounds incredible. So please, somebody make yarn fringe and put it on their paper dress. Or like pom-poms, like the little, like the little pom-pom trim. I think that would be super cute. I just think there's so many ways that you could just have fun with it and just have an afternoon of playing with your dolls and making a paper dress for them, or 2 or 3. It's super fun. It's super easy. I'm going to show you, I'm going to flip the camera around and show you how to exactly to put it together. There's a few tips that I'm going to share in there too. And yeah, I can't wait to see what everybody does, and hope you have fun with it. All right, I'm going to flip the camera around. We're going to do a tutorial, and I'm going to show you a close-up of some of these pictures so you can get inspired. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to put the paper dress together after you get it printed out and cut out. Now you can obviously use the ones that are printed out. You can use this as a pattern to trace onto your own paper. You could, trace it out onto plain paper and then color it in. It could be a fun craft, have a ball with it. Just have fun with it. It's a paper dress. This was a thing, like people wore paper dresses, and it's kind of silly and fantastic. So have fun with it. So I cut this one out. I chose a lighter one to show you for demonstration so you could see the little dotted lines here that are the seam allowance. And what you're going to do, I clipped a little bit beyond where that dotted line was so that I could get, because when I didn't, I got a little bit of a wrinkle there. So I just clipped it a little bit closer. And then I like to just sort of like do it without any, tape or glue or anything, just to kind of see like, oh yeah, that's how that's going to fit together. That's where I'm going. You can use, I'm going to use Scotch tape for this demonstration. I like the kind that is matte, not the shiny, because it blends in a little bit better. This also works better on the lighter colored prints. If it's darker, you're going to see it a little bit more. But you could use glue, glue sticks. I would stay away from Elmer's, anything that's really wet, because that's going to warp the paper and also take a long time to dry, and it would just be messy, I think. And then hot glue, you might get some bumps and lumps. So I would use tape. There's so many scrapbooking supplies that are adhesives, like the double adhesive tape you can use to, put pictures down and stuff. That would be cool. Yeah, you could even, well, I was going to say you could do like peel and stick Velcro, but I don't know that I'd do that. It'd be pretty bulky. So we're going to do good old tape, because everybody's got some tape laying around. So print one of these out, get out your tape, and have a ball. So you can see I'm just going to line up that edge with that dotted line to create this dart. Now, actually, I'm going to use a little bit. It is helpful if you have pieces of tape already ready to go. I just, cut a bunch and put them over here on the table so I could just grab them. So there you go. And then I'm just going to flip that under. Not a big deal. Now, most of the paper dresses that I saw pictures of, well, none of them had darts in them. But for the purposes of the doll and fit and what we're making them out of, because they were sort of more like a paper tablecloth fabric that had a little bit more of a drape to it, if you can call it that. So the darts are really going to be what make this end up looking really cute. And then you just do that again on the other side, the other dart, and rub it down there, secure it, and there we go. So that is the front of our dress. Now, the next easiest thing to do that I have found is the shoulder seams. You're going to overlap this front shoulder onto, that's going to go up to the dotted line there. Now, I found that if you want to make it a little bit easier to get the dress on and off, leave one shoulder undone and then do it after it's on the doll. That's an easier way to put it on. And then you could just like slit the tape. If you glue it, you're not going to be able to do that. So maybe you could like just tape one shoulder, or there you could use like a little dot of Velcro on there. If you want to reuse it, if you want to, otherwise getting them off, you're probably going to tear it. I was able to get them on with doing both shoulders, but not off without wrinkling it and damaging it a little bit. So there we go. There's one shoulder. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm going to do both shoulders just to show you how this goes together. And another piece of tape. If it's too big, don't worry about it, because you can either fold it under or trim that off with your scissors at the end. Did I line that up? Yeah, I did. Okay. So then you have something that looks like this. Then I'm going to do the side seams. And again, it's the front of the dress that goes over the back. You're going to line that up and tape all along that side seam. All right, I'll do that and be right back. Okay, so you have your side seams done, and now it is all one piece. When you go to put it on the doll, put their arms straight out in front of them. We're going to try to do this so that she stays modest during this whole thing, but we'll see. So the arms are straight out, and then I kind of bend the elbows in a little bit so the hands are sort of facing in towards each other. And then this is where I said, if you leave that one shoulder undone, it's not nearly as tricky. And then you kind of guide the hands through, and you might have to like move them. I just start them off closer together, but then you just sort of gently put them through. And those thumbs want to catch, so you got to move. And then you just sort of work it. It just wants to like fall right back. She's wearing a Z's wig, so I'll show you that. But anyway, so there you go. Where is she at here? It is easier if they don't have their wig on. I'm going to take that wig off. So then you kind of put the arms down. She can relax now. And then there is, oh my gosh. I'm sorry, if you don't think that is cute, you can go on Mount Crumpet with the Grinch, because this is adorable. It just makes me giggle. It's so, I don't know, I think it's so fun. Anyway, I'm sorry, I was mesmerized by the cuteness. Then you're just gonna put the right back over the left back, and again, match up your little seam allowance and tape it. And I sort of, this is a little, that's not tricky, but it's like, could be a little finicky. I sort of pull this down, and it's almost easier to do from the bottom up in the back. That's what I found. You'll definitely have to like slit the, I would say, however you decide to put it together, use tape in the back, because you for sure won't get it off if you glue it without tearing it. Which is fine. I mean, if you want to do, if like, it's really fun. I mean, the paper dresses were meant to be disposable. So if you want to get your dolls all dressed up for a party, do a paper dress photo shoot, and then, you know, throw them away. That's what they did with the real ones, which is kind of sad. But who thought, right? Anyway, and there we go. And there she is. That is adorable. Oh my gosh. Look how cute that is. All right, we're going to get her wigged and dressed. And then, yeah, we're going to put her with her friend. So you'll see a lot of Hallmark labels when I was looking for images on Pinterest. I mean, look at that. In a tissue box, and she created a little gray paper flower or tissue paper flower to match. Amazing. Andy Warhol, Campbell soup dress, disposable party dress. I love that. You can sort of see the texture of it there if you look close, because it's in a clear plastic bag. You can sort of see that. The Breck ad. Here's the two ladies all styled. I love the polka dot. See, the dress on the package is a clear plastic, so or cutout, so you could see the pattern underneath it. So I think that's so cool. You can kind of see the texture of what the paper was. And the Christmas one, I mean, amazing. A newspaper one. That looks like that was more of an editorial look, because it doesn't look like she can really move in that, but I wouldn't imagine you could do a whole lot in a paper dress. There was a gown, like a full-length paper gown. Are you kidding me? $1.25. Oh my gosh. And this one here, I think it's so much fun. So there you go. I hope you're inspired to create something fun and kind of silly. All right. Happy cutting, happy taping, happy gluing, and please, somebody make a yarn fringe. That's all I'm asking. So thanks again to Rachel for having me on the channel again. Thanks to Dee for making so many amazing, these are only 2 of them. There's more. So many cool prints, so much fun. I was smiling the whole time I was putting these together and doing this and putting these pictures together and doing my little science fair display. So I hope you enjoy watching the video. I hope you enjoy making some paper dresses for for your dolls, but for yourself. You know what I mean. And yeah, that's it. We'll see you next time. Happy collecting.